I'm Lon Helton, inviting you to join me as I count down the week's top 30 with my co-host Blake Shelton, who tells me he's met a few movie stars while living in Hollywood.
I did this joke a couple of years ago on the ACMs about Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal, never thinking I would ever see the guy, ever.
That's Blake Shelton this week on Country Countdown USA.
It's time for the week's top 30. Hey everybody, I'm Blake Shelton, and these are a few of my hits.
I'll be your honeybee. It's all about tonight. Your hillbilly boom, ba-boom, ba-boom, boom.
I have a song in the top 5, and it sounds like this.
You don't have to keep me falling like this, but it sure be cool if you did.
We'll play that song and talk about my new CD as I count down the hits with Lon Helton of Country Air Check. Right now, here's Lon with this week's hottest song, Better Be Mine.
Well, actually, Blake, we'd like to keep you happy here. So I am glad to report that you actually do have the week's hottest song.
That's perfect.
It'd sure be cool if you did.
I was gonna keep it.
Each week, I'm joined by a top country star who stops by the studio to give me a hand counting down the hits along this week. Somebody we haven't seen since August, so I haven't had a chance to say this before. But welcome to the CMA Entertainer of the Year, Blake Shelton.
I like how that sounds. That's crazy. You got to admit that's crazy. That's weird.
Actually, from the first time we talked about you running over your turkey, I can't remember his name, to now, yeah, it seems like a long time, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I still, every now and then, it just hits me all over again that happened. And my favorite thing about winning that award was the silence in the room is like, huh, who? How the?
I don't think
what
I
in
was
the
there. It wasn't that. People leapt to their feet, screaming at the top of their lungs.
I'm here to shock people.
And you do a good job.
For sure.
We're going to talk more about that CMA later. You got so much going on in your life. New album, the new season of The Voice is just about to get underway. Plus, we got to do the top 30. So let's get to it here.
Too.
And of course, the current hit, Sure Be Cool If You Did, is in the top 5. So
Daddy Likey.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get there with our co-host Blake Shelton. Right now, we'll get things started at number 30. It's the latest from Jared Neiman, Only God Could Love You More.
The things you say, and I do.
Jared Neiman leading off the week's top 30. Only God Could Love You More. Blake Shelton is in here as my countdown co-host this week. And listen, before we leave Jared, he was on the Blake Shelton cruise last October, of course, along with Trace Atkins, Randy Houser, Lee Bryce, Easton Corbin, and me, of course. Man, that was really a lot of fun.
What about our interview portion that we did?
Well,
did you enjoy that?
I did enjoy it. I should probably tell people, the ship had this great gazebo, and people were lined up all around the thing above it and down on the pool in their bikinis and their swimsuits. I even had shorts on, and you came out in a black shirt and jeans and your cowboy boots. It's like 85 degrees. It's like, what are you doing?
Well, I have to suit up for things like that. I can't just show up in my flip-flops. I still got to be a country singer. Wear my jeans and boots. That's part of the dress code if you're going to be a country artist. You didn't know that?
No, I was not aware because Neil McCoy showed up in his flip-flops and shorts. And
he wears those on stage, though.
I think even Trace in the interview we did. I think you were gone by the time Trace came on. And
did he wear flip-flops?
Yeah, man. He was.
I don't ever want to see Trace's feet.
And his shorts. He did make a remark during our interview that something about your cabin boy got a hernia bringing whiskey to your room.
Well, I had a good room there where I had a window overlooking the pool area. So me and my tour manager managed to stand there with our face pressed against the glass for hours every day drinking.
Now, you had a nice
watching.
room.
I felt like it was my people down there.
Yeah, it was your people in bikinis down there. Anyway, Trace Atkins was also on that Blake Shelton cruise. Why don't we get your duet with him from a few years ago? It's Blake Shelton and Trace Atkins and Hillbilly Bone. Up 1 at number 28, that's Don't Rush. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton, and we started the show talking about the CMA Awards from last November, where you won the Male Vocalist, Song, and Entertainer of the Year awards. Thank you very much. What was your favorite moment of the night?
Probably the most important thing that night, and probably the most important recognition I'll ever get, was the over you being celebrated. And what's funny is that you and I were doing one of these, and you had mentioned to me you thought it was going to get nominated or win or something, and I was going, I don't know if Lon knows what he's talking about, but I like it.
Well, I don't usually,
yeah.
but that wasn't hard to figure out with that song.
Well, it was just, there's a lot of artists and people in town that just write a song. They'll write a song every day, and I've just never been that type of a writer. When I do write something, it's usually important to me, at least. And for it to be celebrated like that, I told Miranda, I said, I'm either going to start writing a lot more, or I'm never writing another song again.
Understand. I think one of the things I like most about those live award shows is there's just those moments that you can never script, you can never plan, but you and Miranda on stage getting the award for that song was just one of those great moments. You could almost feel what the two of you were feeling and not saying, and
yeah.
just the moment, you know.
Well, the song had new meaning to us all over again last year, you know, with my dad passing away, and she had one of her best friends killed in a car accident, and it just, every time something like that happens, the song has new impact on us again, you know. And then we were standing up there with this trophy, and basically everybody in that room had thought it was a good song too, you know. And that was just really cool that people thought that.
With a man's
Kip Moore picking up a couple of number 26. That's Hey Pretty Girl. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton and talking about CMA night back in November. Take me back, I guess, just to that very moment when they announced your name as Entertainer of the Year.
Well, I knew before anybody else in the room knew that I had won Entertainer of the Year because of the look on Reba's face when she was cracking that envelope. I mean, I just know her so well, because she would have put on her "I'm happy for you" smile for anybody else, but I knew that look on her face.
Really?
I knew what she was reading there, and then they said my name, and it was just the coolest thing ever. I mean, I don't know how to even put it into words. It's just, especially at this point in my career, in my life, I mean, you've seen 100 artists like me come and go, and for it to happen.
Not quite like you, but we have seen a few come and go.
I mean, you know, you kind of, if you don't get to this level quickly, you almost don't get there, you know.
Yeah.
For it to be happening now and happen that night, it was just shocking. I think it was shocking for everybody, you know. And then to have, one male vocalist of the year again, which was, I didn't think that I would get that again. You know, I actually do think it's time for Luke to start winning that. That's God's honest truth. But I'm glad I won.
I understand. Anyway, we are talking about CMA Awards night with my co-host Blake Shelton and winning all those awards as we head back to the countdown here. At number 25, this is Gloriana and Can't Shake You.
I still
Number 23, that's Wagon-Wheel. We're counting down the hits here with Blake Shelton, and the last time we got together for the show here, we were actually at the house in the Hollywood Hills that you stay in while you're doing The Voice. And
It's a little weird out there.
you weren't
in that
especially
house.
enamored with that 10,000 or 12,000 square foot home. Are you growing more accustomed to it?
No, I think we're going to get out of that house. The only reason I even rented it was to attract Miranda to L.A. She's not a big L.A. person, you know.
But the pool.
I thought the pool would do it, and I may have told you the first time she walked into the house, it's a huge house, and I was so proud. I'm like, oh yeah, she's going to be impressed now. I think I'm something, you know. And she walked in and she goes, "This house is stupid." I go, "What do you mean it's stupid?" She goes, "It's just too big. Why do you?" I go, "Well, I got it for you. What are you talking about?" She goes, "I don't want this house."
There are naked statues and naked cherubs on the ceiling.
Well,
and-
doesn't that mean something big time?
Yeah. It's in the Hollywood Hills. It tells me exactly what it means. Did you record any of this new album at your house? 'Cause
All of it.
You did?
We actually love doing vocals there. It's going to be hard to capture that vibe and that sound again. Like, we just found the right combination of things to do in there to get the right acoustics, and we love it. That's how we did this album.
I do want to come back and talk some more about that new album a little bit later, and we'll do that with my co-host Blake Shelton. But now we're at 22 in the countdown. Here's the new family trio, the Henningsons, and American Beautiful.
She puts a
Dustin Lynch, once again at number 20, She Cranks My Tractor. Blake Shelton's in here as my co-host. His song way ahead in the top 5. Sure be cool if you did, but I want to go back here and talk a little bit about your last number 1, Over.
Over was a song that definitely became one that was a fan favorite, and it seemed like the audience kind of gravitated towards that one. And it's interesting nowadays. Used to, when you'd pick a single, it was just kind of a blind. It felt like you were just throwing darts at a dartboard, to pick a single. It just kind of came down to whatever you thought people would like. But now you can kind of, with the way digital music is, you can kind of see which one on the album people are downloading the most, and stuff like that. And there's Twitter, and people can tell you right then on Twitter, what song do y'all like on the album, and they all will answer you, and it's awesome. And Over has been one of the leading songs on the record. It's like, man, let's give the fans what they want. Who cares if every time I sing it, blood comes flying out of my throat? I can't talk for the next 2 weeks. I mean, that thing is up there. But even though you kind of know that that's the one the fans want, it doesn't mean that it's the one that your average country listener wants to hear. And it's always a relief when you see a song that is making that connection with everybody outside of just your own fan base.
If I could.
Florida Georgia Line up a couple of number 17. Get your shine on. We're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton, and up next is George Strait, who of course is on the road right now with the Cowboy Rides Away tour, which is his final tour. Of course, you were out on the road with him.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the King at this point? Riding away.
I wish he wasn't doing this. I mean, selfishly,
yeah.
It's hard to imagine that, not being able to go and see George Strait somewhere every year if you want to, But I mean, he's a cowboy, and it seems like those guys that when it's time to move on, they move on. I mean, it's so fitting that George is doing this. He's going to go out this way, and that's what he wants to do. I'm glad to know. Last I heard, he's still going to make records and put out new music. So at least we get to have that. But I'm not gonna lie to you. I hate it. I don't want him to quit playing. I used to sit out there every night when I toured with George Strait. I'd finish my show, run back to the bus, change clothes, put on a cap, roll my ice chest out, and then sit. I'd kind of sit, Norma always sits on the side of the stage, and I'd kind of sit back behind her and just watch this living legend, stand out there on that stage and perform, and it was humbling, and I don't want him to quit.
Yeah, I don't think anybody does, to tell you the truth. And of course, the guy we're talking about is next up at number 16. It's George Strait, Give It All We Got Tonight.
July moon.
Miranda Lambert up 1 to number 15, Mama's Broken Heart. Blake Shelton's in here this week as my co-host, and we talked a bit earlier about the house that you rent up in the Hollywood Hills when you're doing The Voice. And when Miranda was in here as my co-host, she told me that she really had just one big complaint about living in L.A.
I started driving, and I rented myself a little Kia, and I wrecked it twice in the driveway. It's got one of these long, skinny driveways, and I was looking to one side to make sure I didn't hit, and I ran into the other side. So, but eventually I've gotten it down, and so I kind of don't leave my little area, but we're right, close to Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset and all that. So pretty much everything I need is right there.
I don't know what it probably ended up costing her, or if she had bought that rent insurance or whatever, but she had smacked this. She likes Kias. She's got this certain Kia that she likes to rent when she's in LA because she thinks it's fun to drive it. And it was smashed from one end to the other by the time the week was over. I'm not kidding. I mean, it was. She just would run into walls and everything. I mean, I'm sure that somebody got hit and didn't know it, or because it was. The car wasn't good by the time she turned it back in.
She sounded pretty frustrated with LA driving, just as a whole.
I can tell you that the wall didn't run into her. It's not anybody's fault but Miranda's. She can gripe about LA traffic all she wants, but I didn't see the wall move and hit her car.
I'm sure you're right, and I'm sure she'll appreciate your saying that, too, whenever we are talking about Miranda Lambert, who is at number 15. As Blake Shelton and I head on the countdown to 14, it's Kenny Chesney, Pirate Flag.
Well,
Get from there. We're counting down the hits here with Blake Shelton, and you wanted to say something about Chris?
I've gotten to know Chris pretty well, I think. I'm always hesitant because I don't know if he's, trying on women's underwear or something right now. But you could be. I wouldn't blame him. I consider Chris Young, somebody who's truly a friend. I mean, I do. And I think we have a lot of the same taste in music. And Chris said something to me one time that it still blows me away. When he was a teenager, he used to come watch me play at Douglas Corner there in Nashville when I would do Writers' Nights, and he's talking to me in detail about watching me perform this song. That's before I ever even had a song out on the radio. That reminds me of me because I've always felt like I've been a studier of traditional country artists and just would go and sit in my apartment and just for hours try to write a song like them or sound like them, and until eventually you stumble upon a sound that doesn't sound like anybody, and that's when you're on your way, and that's what Chris has done, I think.
Oh yeah, and that can't be easy, just kind of developing your own sound. Well, this next lady in the countdown certainly has done that very same thing. At number 11, it's Casey Musgraves and Merry-Go-Round.
If you ain't got 2 kids.
Lady Antebellum up a couple of number 10, that's Downtown. And we're here counting down the hits this week with Blake Shelton. Let's talk about The Voice a little bit. You wrapped up season 3 just a couple of months ago, and it's obvious to those of us who watch the show that you've become pretty good buddies with Adam Levine. Just kind of wondering what glimpses in either the rock and roll world or Hollywood have you gotten hanging around with Adam?
With Adam, I think the biggest surprise to me is just he was born and raised in Los Angeles, and so he knows everybody, and like Adam's house is like the house that everybody just randomly goes to. And I was sitting there one night, and you do things and you never really think about repercussions. And I did this joke a couple of years ago on the ACMs about Taylor Swift and Jake Gyllenhaal, never thinking I would ever see the guy, ever, And there I am at Adam's house, and he's like, "Hey, Jake's coming over." I'm like, "Oh, who's Jake?" He said, "I went to high school with him." "Oh, okay." And he comes walking in, and Jake kind of looks at me, and he turns, and Adam comes over. He's like, "Man, Jake's upset. Did you say something?" Or I was like, "Yeah, I did." He said, "Man, just go tell him that it'll be cool." And it was like a thing, and it was like, oh crap! I mean, I hurt the guy's feelings,
You're hoping. What are the chances that Jake actually watched the ACM show? You're hoping that
I know either that, or he was told. But anyway, I said, "Man, I was just reading the joke." He's like, "I know. I just didn't know if you're an ass or what, Like, well, I am, but I didn't mean anything bad, So that's the kind of glimpses I get.
That's probably because that's the kind of glimpses you deserve. Anyway, what a great story. And you did mention Taylor Swift in there somewhere, and she just happens to be next in the countdown at number 9, Begin Again.
Took a deep breath in, begin again.
Taylor Swift at number 9, that's Begin Again. Blake Shelton's in here as my co-host this week. We're going to talk about your current single, Sure Be Cool If You Did, in just a minute. But right now, let's chat a second about a recent number 1, Drink on It.
It was one of those that 1 or 2 listens, it was like, if I was in a bar somewhere, that is the kind of stuff that I would say. I got to cut this song. It sounds like it's written for me, you know what I mean? And I love to perform it live. It has some of that Conway Twitty sound to it that I love so much, and maybe even a little Ronnie Milsap type feel to it. It's just not something that you hear on radio that much anymore, and I'm really proud of the record we made on it.
Hey girl, hey, where you going? Tip it on back.
Dierks Bentley at number 8, that's Tip It On Back. Blake Shelton's in here as my co-host this week. Of course, Dierks is out on the road right now with your wife, Miranda Lambert. You gotten out there to see a show or two?
I did. When it came time for Valentine's Day, and she probably feels like she got ripped off, but my Valentine's present to Miranda was I spent the weekend with her on the road. And like I say, she's probably going, "Man, I would have just taken some chocolates or something to come out." But I wanted to see. I hadn't seen her show this year yet, and she'd been out for a couple of weekends, and so I really wanted to see it, and ended up just doing the whole run with her, I think. And she invited me out on stage, and I got to do Sure Be Cool If You Did. That was the first time I'd ever performed it in front of an audience. I was going, cool. Man, I don't know if people are even going to know it or like it or what, but it was fun to.
I think people love that when you show up.
Well, it's cool because I think a lot of times, people come to my show at least, and they've always got it in the back of their mind that wonder if Miranda's here and then she's going to come out. It's always a good feeling when and bring her out on stage.
You get a chance to see Dirks?
I did. Hung out with Dirks a lot out there. In fact, at one point, Miranda brings out this trainer, and at one point, I said, I need to do some sit-ups and stuff pretty bad, Let's go hit the trainer, and Dirks was in there too, so the three of us were, did our training together for about an hour that day. He's in way, way better shape than I am because I made it about 5 minutes and was doing everything I could not to throw up, and he hung in there a long time. But yeah, we spent a lot of time together that weekend, and I like Dirks a lot.
Yeah, good guy, and I think it's a great combination. Of course, the two of them out there this year, Dirks and your wife, Miranda. Anyway, we are going to go from Dirks, who was at number 8, on to number 7 in the countdown. Here's Lee Brice, and I Drive Your Truck.
89 cents. It'd be cool if you did.
That's my co-host Blake Shelton. He's up a couple to number 5. Sure be cool if you did. And let's talk about the song a little bit here because it's something a little bit different for you.
Yeah, it's definitely different for me, and that's why one of the things that attracted me to that song. I mean, lyrically, it's basically just a guy picking up a girl, in a bar trying to. But musically, it's different for me, I think, and that's what it was designed to be. It was different. And I'll tell you, man, I listen to, a lot of the artists that are out right now, and I'm a fan of a lot of them, and I admire how, Jason Aldean and Luke and Miranda and Carrie, that, they're constantly just kind of pushing the boundaries of what the sounds are, on country radio, and I wanted in on some of that.
I thought it was the best pickup song since The Chair.
Oh yeah, The Chair. You know what's funny? I almost said The Chair just then because it's basically a guy he's got his pickup line and he's dumping it on this girl.
But it's smooth. It's not, The Chair always was pretty just smooth, That's
as romantic as The Chair is, it's funny too.
Yeah. Anyway, we started talking about Sure Be Cool If You Did at number 5. As we head on to number 4, it's the band Perry, Better Dig 2.
I told you.
Little Big Town up a couple to number 2. That's Tornado. Blake Shelton's in here as my co-host this week, and Little Big Town was in here just a couple weeks ago talking about a video that you did for The Voice, and they kind of thought it looked a little similar to one they did for the Keith Urban tour.
Have you seen the Voice commercials?
Totally,
They totally ripped it
like
off.
a total idea.
Wait till you see. So Blake and Adam Levine get in the car and they start playing, crank up their radio, and they pick up Shakira and Usher, and they all sing oldies. They completely just ripped off.
Is that right now?
It is.
Is that aired yet?
Oh, yeah.
It's too coincidental of an idea for it not to be.
It's the
them
same
not
thing.
Well,
watch
Blake's
that.
going to be in here soon, and we'll have to ask him if he had a hand in
Yeah.
bringing this
says-
to the attention.
I hope he says,
I'm sure
I
he
totally ripped it off. I hope he does that.
Yeah.
I saw that video that they did for the Keith Urban tour, and I thought it was pretty clever. That
I think they used the word rip-off.
well, the
But-
Little Big Town people, they need to know that I don't write commercials, but I just and I don't think that they do either. What's funny is Jimmy and I love Jimmy. We have this app on our phones where it's called Voxer. Have you heard of Voxer?
No.
It's basically like a two-way radio. It's an app, and you just leave each other quick voice messages. And because now that they're, vocal group of the year and song of the year, all that stuff, I don't want him getting the big head on me, so I'll make sure that I talk down to him at least a couple, 3 times a week.
I'm sure he appreciates that. Anyway, we're talking about Little Big Town. They were at number 2. As we head on to the number 1 song in the USA, it belongs to Tim McGraw, One of Those Nights.
She's getting dressed up, putting on
One of Those Nights. And there they are, the top 30 country hits in the USA as compiled by Country Air Check. And my co-host this week, of course, has been Blake Shelton. And I got to tell you, man, after, 3 hours, we've really still barely scratched the surface on all the things that you got going on.
Oh, yeah.
We haven't talked about your new album, Season 4 of The Voice, and of course, hosting the ACM Awards with Luke Bryan. So what do you think about coming back next week?
That would be cool.
That's great to hear. So that means next week, 3 more hours with Blake Shelton.